Enksler will defend her. The slip to Boston, the finish. She's had 4 straight games in double figures. Hull from outside, her first miss against the Fire this season. Clark, offensive rebound, puts it.
Caitlin Clark played 22 minutes last night. 22. And in those 22 minutes, she scored 6 points. 6. 1 field goal in 7 attempts, 4 free throws, and then she was gone, sitting on the bench watching Portland Fire dismantle Indiana piece by piece while the team's best player could do nothing but watch.
Behind to Carlton running the floor. Her triple, no good. Booter right there.
Portland Fire 100, Indiana Fever 84.
Hodge sets the screen late with Clark switched on to her. Late. Attacking, lowers the head, able to...
Now here is the question you need to sit with before we break down a single possession of this game. Is it a coincidence that Caitlin Clark picks up 5 personal fouls in 22 minutes and gets essentially fouled out of game? Indiana desperately needed to win.
Step back triple. It's short. Hole with the eyes down the floor. Up ahead, Boston. Great catch. The vision from Clark.
Is it a coincidence that this happens the game after she had her arms open with 1 second left against Golden State and nobody threw her the ball?
No matter what, outside of when they're playing against each other.
So Indiana.
Is it a coincidence that Indiana's star player, who went perfect from the free throw line 2 games ago and was the best player on the floor?
Johnson into a triple team, out to Clark, 3 more!
Carolina.
Clark fire away and hits a 3!
Somehow spent half this game parked on the bench while Portland shot 100 points. Because right now, the pattern around how Clark is being managed, how she's being put in situations, and what happens to this team when she's not on the floor is a conversation Indiana cannot keep avoiding. But here is where it gets truly uncomfortable. A clip just surfaced of Stephanie White shouting at Caitlin Clark. And the second Clark dared to respond, White pulled her off the court and replaced her with Raven Johnson. Not because of basketball, because Clark talked back. This is NBA, girl, and we are not holding anything back today. Subscribe and hit the like button and let us get into exactly what happened.
Late. Trying to find the roll. They doubled it. Gustafson, the catch. Gustafson up with the left.
The first quarter, Portland takes Indiana's soul. The game was over before most people had finished settling into their seats. Portland Fire scored 29 points in the first quarter. Indiana scored 15. A 14-point deficit in 12 minutes that set the tone for the entire night.
Over Enksler left wide open. It is.
And from which Indiana never fully recovered. In the way Portland built those 29 points was not fluky shooting and good fortune. It was an organized, systematic attack on everything Indiana was trying to do defensively that exposed every single weakness this roster has been carrying all season.
What happened tonight, this team got outworked, out-hustled, out-coached. They got absolutely worked by an expansion team on over-the-air free network television.
Portland shot 100% at the rim in this game. 13 attempts, 13 makes. Every single time a Portland player got into the paint and attacked the basket, they scored. Everyone. Indiana had no interior presence that could stop any of it. The help defense was late. The rotations were broken and Portland kept attacking the same spots over and over because Indiana kept giving them the same lanes over and over.
They were down 13 at halftime, and it only got a hell of a lot uglier from there.
Megan Gustafson was the player who made Indiana look most helpless. 8 field goal attempts, 8 made, 100%. She went 8 for 8 from the field, including a perfect 7 of 7 at the rim, and added 5 of 6 from the free throw line for 22 total points.
The season high for the rookie. Gustafson will let it fly from the corner. Oh, it is.
That is a shooting performance that should not be physically possible against a professional basketball defense, and Indiana allowed it by giving her the same post-entry feeds and the same low post positioning over and over without a single meaningful adjustment. She drew 7 fouls. 7. Against a team that already had Caitlin Clark picking up personal fouls at an alarming rate in the first quarter. By the time the first quarter ended, Portland led by 14, and Indiana was already in crisis management mode. Caitlin Clark's 5 fouls, what actually happened? Let us address this directly because it is the most important storyline of the entire game, and it is the one that raises the most uncomfortable questions. Caitlin Clark finished this game with 5 personal fouls in 22 minutes of playing time. 5 fouls in 22 minutes means she was picking up a foul every 4.5 minutes of clock time on average. She was also -8 on the floor. When she was on the court, Indiana was being outscored by 8 points. 1 field goal made in 7 attempts, 14.3% shooting, and she was gone before the game was even close to being decided. Now, here is what makes this suspicious. Clark drew 5 fouls herself, meaning she was being contacted and sent to the line regularly. She went 4 of 5 from the free throw line. So she was drawing contact. She was being fouled. She was getting to the line. But she was also committing 5 fouls on the other end in 22 minutes, which is an extraordinary rate for any player in any professional game. The question is whether those fouls were genuinely warranted, or whether the officiating in this game was making Clark's life specifically difficult in a way that forced her to sit. You have to ask this question in the context of everything else we have seen. Back stiffness that kept her out against Portland the first time. An injury explanation from Stephanie White before the Golden State game that was deliberately vague and evasive. Being pulled from the Seattle game on triple-double watch. Being left wide open with 1 second left against Golden State. And now, 5 fouls in 22 minutes that removed her from a game Indiana needed desperately. You connect those dots and tell me what picture you see. Because from where we are sitting, the picture does not look accidental.
Oh, Leah Boston had 18 points. Kelsey Mitchell had 17. Great. Fever in the first half versus the Fire. 9 of 29, 31%, 1 of 10 from three-point range.
The second quarter, Indiana fights back briefly. Indiana actually won the second quarter 22-21. A 1-point quarter that temporarily made it feel like the Fever might have enough to claw their way back. Boston was working in the post. She would finish with 18 points on 7 of 13 from the field and was Indiana's best player on the night. Mitchell was drawing fouls. He would end with 17 points, largely built the free throw line going 8 of 9. Sophie Cunningham was finding her spots. 15 points on 3 of 5, shooting with 2 threes and 7 of 8 from the line. The most efficient Indiana player in terms of true shooting percentage at 88%. But none of it was sustainable because the structural problems eating Indiana alive were not going away. 18 total turnovers. 18. Indiana committed 17 player turnovers and Portland converted them into 16 points. Every time Indiana created a possession and then gave it back, Portland was getting easy points on the other end, and the deficit that had been built in the first quarter was never getting small enough to matter. Miesha Hines-Allen committed 5 turnovers, 5 from one player. In a game decided by 16 points, 5 turnovers from a single player is not a minor contribution to the loss, is a direct cause of it. Raven Johnson fouled out. 6 personal fouls, becoming the second Indiana player after Clark to be essentially eliminated by foul trouble. When 2 of your rotation players are fighting foul trouble simultaneously, the bench depth that has always been Indiana's weakness gets exposed at exactly the wrong moment. The third quarter, Portland ends the game. The third quarter was one of the worst defensive performances Indiana has delivered all season, and that is saying something given what we have watched through the first 9 games. Portland Fire scored 37 points in the third quarter, 37 in 12 minutes of basketball. That is not a hot streak. That is a complete and total defensive collapse. Where Portland ran whatever they wanted against Indiana's coverage and converted at a rate that belongs in a highlight reel rather than a professional basketball game. Carla Late was orchestrating all of it. 18 points on 6 of 12 shooting with 12 assists. A double-double in both scoring and playmaking. Portland was running their offense through her reads, and every time Indiana sent a double team or made a rotational adjustment, Light found the open player immediately. 12 assists. She was more prolific as a playmaker in this game than Caitlin Clark has been in several games this season, and she did it with a level of efficiency that had Indiana scrambling for answers they never found. Emily Engsler gave Portland the physical forward presence that Indiana had no answer for. 16 points on 7 of 10 shooting, 10 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 blocks, and a technical foul somewhere in the middle of everything. She was dominant on both ends, and her 67% shooting from 3-on-3 attempts gave Portland's offense another dimension that Indiana's defense could not account for simultaneously with everything else they were trying to stop. By the end of the third quarter, Portland led by something in the range of 20-plus points, and the game was finished as a competitive contest. Indiana won the fourth quarter 22-13 purely because Portland had taken their starters off the floor and was running out the clock. The final score of 100-84 is flattering to Indiana because of the garbage time fourth quarter. The real game was a complete dismantling, and it happened from the opening tip. The structural problems that decided this game. Let's be precise about what lost this game for Indiana because it was not one thing. It was a combination of failures that have been building for weeks and came apart simultaneously on the worst possible night. The interior defense is the most urgent crisis. Portland shot 100% at the rim, 13 for 13. That number belongs in a recreational league game, not a professional basketball contest. Indiana has no answer inside when teams are willing to repeatedly attack the paint. Without a legitimate rim protector who can deter or block attempts, every team Indiana faces can identify the same weakness and exploit it the same way. Portland did not discover anything new. They found a door that has been unlocked all season and walked through it 26 times. The three-point shooting was catastrophic. 5 of 22 from 3, 22.7% as a team. Indiana attempted 22 threes and made 5. When Clark is not on the floor or is being limited by foul trouble, Indiana's three-point offense collapses entirely because nobody else on this roster creates the kind of space and shot quality that Clark's movement and gravity generate. Bench attempted threes all night and could not convert. Lexi Hull went 0 for 4. Tyasha Harris went 1 for 5. The production simply was not there. The turnovers are at a rate that makes winning impossible. 18 turnovers leading to 16 Portland points means Indiana essentially gave Portland an entire quarter's worth of possessions as a gift. You cannot beat a team that is also scoring 100 points from their own possessions when you're also handing them extra ones for free. What this means for Indiana right now. Indiana Fever are 5-4. They have lost 4 games and 3 of those losses have come in consecutive games. The Golden State loss 2 days ago and now this Portland loss. Back-to-back defeats heading into a stretch that includes the New York Liberty and a Washington rematch. The schedule is not getting easier. The problems are not getting smaller. And the most important player on the roster spent 22 minutes on the floor picking up 5 fouls against a team Indiana beat by 17 just 10 days ago. Boston played well. Mitchell contributed 17 points. Cunningham was efficient. Timpson had 11 points with 6 rebounds and 2 blocks off the bench showing real development. These are players doing their jobs. But the game was lost in the first quarter when Portland scored 29, in the third quarter when Portland scored 37, and in the 22 minutes that Caitlin Clark spent on the bench watching the team, she carries fall apart without her. Indiana's offensive rating with Clark on the floor was 100. Without her, based on how the quarters broke down, this team is simply not competitive against anyone with real offensive talent. 5 fouls in 22 minutes. 1 field goal in 7 attempts. Arms open against Golden State with 1 second left and nobody threw the ball. Triple-double watch against Seattle and she gets pulled. Evasive injury answers before Golden State. Missing entirely against Portland the first time with 0 explanation. You decide what you think is happening, but right now something around Caitlin Clark and this Indiana Fever team is deeply wrong. And the New York Liberty are coming to remind everyone exactly what the gap looks like between Indiana's potential and Indiana's current reality. 5-4. The questions are getting louder and nobody in that coaching staff is answering them.